Welcome to More Driven. My name is Blake Moore. On this channel, I go over all things DoorDash, Uber, Uber Eats, Lyft, Instacart, and any other gig app that I try, I cover on this channel. Because I have 6 years of gig work experience, I try and give you guys as much information as I can, so hopefully you can make more money on your own. So DoorDash, Uber, and Lyft drivers are all going on strike this week. And I think this is something that is really important. So throughout the entire week, I'm going to be doing a 7-part series about all things DoorDash. We'll be covering in this video my thoughts on the DoorDash strike, and then throughout the week we will hit topics like why DoorDash doesn't want us to make money, and then on Wednesday I will be exposing the truth about DoorDash. Thursday I'll be going over what we actually need to do if we want to see real changes with our pay, and then on Friday I'll be going over ways that we can increase our pay even if DoorDash doesn't listen to us. And then Saturday I will be going live. We can talk about everything that I've discussed in all these videos, and then Sunday will be my final video on this whole topic. So if you're interested in that, make sure you turn your notifications on. Also, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video, because what I'm going to be talking about throughout this entire week stems from my almost 6 years of DoorDash experience. And I think all of this information is extremely valuable for new Dashers and even veteran Dashers who have been going out for a year or 2 or 3. Getting this information and discussing these topics is, I think, the most important thing and the most value that I can bring to the DoorDash community right now. So with all that said, in this video specifically, we're going to be going over when the strike is, if you specifically should participate in it, if the strike is even going to help anything, and what the strike is actually going to change. So first things first, the DoorDash strike is going on Valentine's Day, which is Wednesday of this week, February 14th. So if you're watching this video past then the strike has probably already happened. But yeah, it's going to be all day, February 14th. There's actually specific times where if you're an Uber and a Lyft driver, you'll probably want to know the specific times where specific things are going on, and I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, February 14th, Wednesday of this week, a lot of Dashers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers are not going to be going out and delivering food or giving out rides. So I just wanted to go over this article real quick that kind of explains things a little bit better. It says Uber, Lyft, DoorDash drivers in the U.S. to strike on Valentine's Day for fair pay. The strike call is the first since Uber and Lyft went public in 2019. Drivers will picket outside airports and Uber offices, two groups said. Thousands of drivers for ride-sharing platforms Uber, Lyft, and food delivery app DoorDash will strike across the United States on Valentine's Day seeking fair pay. The strike call is the first since Uber and Lyft went public in 2019. Drivers will picket outside airports and Uber offices, two of the groups said. The strikes are set to take place about a week after Lyft said it would pay the difference if drivers made less than 70% of what riders paid after external fees each week. We are constantly working to improve the driver experience, Lyft, which is set to report quarterly results on Tuesday. The drivers, considered independent contractors, have accused the platforms of taking disproportionately high amounts as commissions, which is definitely true, by the way. I believe now, with Lyft, it's 70%. With Uber, I think it's like 63% is what the driver gets of the total of what the Uber passenger actually pays. And then with DoorDash, I mean, the $2 base pay has to be like 25% of the fees that the DoorDash customer is actually paying for. I mean, I think DoorDash is the worst out of all of these. But anyway, back to the article. It says the Justice for App Workers Coalition, representing about 130,000 drivers and delivery workers, said its drivers would not participate in rides to and from airports between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. in 10 U.S. cities. So that's what I was talking about before. If you're a Lyft and Uber driver, supposedly we're supposed to not give any rides to and from the airport from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I don't know why we're not just boycotting the whole day, but that's what it says right here. And then it goes on to say, by not paying drivers a livable wage, drivers are barely able to afford the bare necessities, said why can I not say his name? Shantwan Humphrey, a driver in Dallas, Texas. While many drivers sign up with these firms to supplement their income from other jobs, some drive full-time for the platforms. A year into algorithmic pricing, drivers have seen incredible decrease of our pay, whatever calculation and algorithms they're using, it's absolutely useless. Nicole Moore, president of the California-based Rideshare Drivers United Union, told Reuters on Sunday. In 2023, Uber drivers' monthly average gross earnings fell 17.1%, while those of Lyft drivers increased 2.5%, according to Gridwise, which analyzes gig mobility data. Driver earnings remain strong, and as of Q4 2023, drivers in the U.S. were making about $33 per utilized hour, Uber said, which, let's just stop right there for a sec. That is such a misleading stat that Uber gives. Yeah, $33 per utilized hour, which essentially for Uber, that's like what DoorDash's active pay would be, which, yeah, that's great and all that you can make $33 when you're actually driving. And with Uber, it's actually even more, what do you call it? It's even more misleading than DoorDash's active pay, because $33 per utilized hour means the actual time that you have a passenger in your car. And sometimes you have to drive 15 minutes to go pick up the passenger, and that's not what they're including in this $33 per utilized hour. So it's literally just the time you have a passenger in your car, which that only accounts for maybe 25% of the time you're actually out on the road. Some of the time you're driving to pick up the passenger, and then the other time you're waiting to get decent rides. So it's a very misleading stat. Obviously, Uber is going to be like, oh yeah, look, Uber drivers make $33 per hour. And it's like, well, not really. Like, yes, per utilized hour when they have passengers in the car, they're making that much. But that only is about 25 to maybe 50% of the time that you're actually working as an Uber driver. So a very misleading stat. But then the very last phrase I think is very telling in this article. It says, DoorDash did not immediately respond to a request for comment, which is typical of DoorDash. I feel like DoorDash is the worst out of all of these because, one, their pay is, in my opinion, the worst. Well, not my opinion, just by fact. In my area, DoorDash pay is the worst compared to Uber and Lyft. And their base pay is so much worse. And the way they calculate the base pay is so much worse than Uber and Lyft. And of course, they're not going to choose to not respond to this because, in my opinion, DoorDash is the worst and sketchiest company out of the three. So that's the gist of what the strike actually is and why it's happening. But now let's get into if you should participate in it. Now, this is kind of a personal opinion thing with this DoorDash strike. In my opinion, you probably shouldn't participate in the strike unless you just feel like it really hits close to home and you just want to support the cause of what DoorDash drivers, Uber, and Lyft drivers are trying to do. Then I get it. You might want to participate in the strike. Just boycott going out and driving for Valentine's Day. Maybe spend time with a significant other or whatever instead. Which, if you do that, that's totally fine. I totally get that. But if you were planning on going out to drive for one of these companies and make money on Valentine's Day, and then you come across this and you're like, well, I want to participate. I'm not actually going to go out. And you're just doing it because you think something's actually going to change from it, then I would highly suggest you still go out because there are going to be a lot of people striking. And if you go out, you'll probably make good money, better money than you normally would because there's going to be less drivers on the road. Now that does kind of sound messed up because we should all be in this together. And if we all were, that would be amazing. But unfortunately, it's just not going to make a difference. In my opinion, the strikes that they've done in the past, they are very pointless because while it does send a little bit of a message to these companies, it doesn't affect anything in terms of their pay for that day, in my opinion, because you just can't get enough drivers to participate. Maybe a lot of people can't take a day off, so they have to go out and work that day. They can't afford to take a day off and participate in the strike. Or you have other people who don't know about it. I mean, it's not like every driver is in some type of group chat where this is being broadcast to everyone, everyone's agreeing upon it, and all multi-million of us decide we're not going out that day. It's not like that. Even in this article, it said, I think 130,000 drivers are a part of this coalition, which is just, it's such a small fraction of the amount of drivers that go out every single day. I think, what is that? I'm actually going to do the math real quick. 130,000. If 130,000 drivers decide to go on strike, I believe there's like over 5 million drivers. So we're just going to use that 5 million number but I think there's actually more. And that means if 130,000 people don't go out and drive on Wednesday, that's only 2.6% of all the drivers. So it's like, that's not going to do anything, unfortunately. I wish we could get everyone together and all go on strike on the same day, or even do it for an extended period of time, because in reality, I think that's the only way that anything would actually change. But just having 2.6% of the drivers not go out on one day, it's just not going to matter. It really isn't. And it's unfortunate, because I wish a strike would make a difference. And I think there are ways that we could go about making a bigger difference. But unfortunately, going on strike on Valentine's Day, in my opinion, is just not going to change anything. So should you participate in it? Yeah, if you want to just support the cause. But if you need the money, then I would suggest to just go out. I mean, I probably am not going to go out on Valentine's Day just because I'm going to spend time with my wife, and also because it does support the cause. So kind of goes hand in hand anyway, but I probably wasn't going to go out and drive on that day anyway. So if you need the money, you'll probably make more money if you do go out on Valentine's Day. 1, it's a holiday. 2, there's going to be less drivers on the road. 3, there's probably going to be a lot of people ordering like flowers and gift cards and things like that, or people needing to be driven home after a night out because they'll be drinking at dinner, whatever. So yeah, is this going to help? Probably not, unfortunately. But we're going to be discussing ways that we actually can make a change in some of those videos that I mentioned throughout the rest of this week, because I do think this is very important to talk about right now. And then lastly, what this strike is going to change, this specific strike, probably nothing. But I think the more strikes that happen, the better executed they will be, which will lead eventually to some change. And just because these people are mentioning the strike and I'm talking about it, other gig YouTubers are talking about it, it is getting the word out there. And I do think that the companies will catch wind of it. Obviously they have, because they are being interviewed about it. And so it does kind of put driver pay on notice a little bit inside of these companies. I mean, as a company, you really don't want all your independent contractors being upset. Do I think they care that much? No, but it does probably come across the CEO's desk and it's like, well, I'd rather our drivers be happy than all upset. So maybe we'll make a tweak here or there or whatever. So it might lead to a tiny bit of change, but I think it's just a stepping stone that's not really going to lead to any change right now, but maybe in the future. So that's it for this video. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video, where I'll be discussing why DoorDash actually doesn't want us to make any money. And I'll be going into a bunch of different things that I've learned over the 6 years in terms of DoorDash's business model, why they do certain things that they do, how they trick us into doing certain things, and just a bunch of good information. So make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'm going to be doing videos every single day this week. I think you'll get a lot of information and a lot of value out of them. So thank you guys for watching, for supporting. Let's all stay together as a community and actually try to make some real change, because something does need to happen. It's getting a little bit ridiculous. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.